Fans, we'll take those two. Yeah, we still haven't seen some cool Yasuo play in competitive, but we're hoping for it soon.
Okay, so first pick, these guys got to think what they want to go for. And, you know, with every support available and almost everything else, they go with the first pick, Vi. So Tick, Trick, and Duck wanting a strong jungle presence early on and saying, all right, take what you want.
It's a solid all-around pick. Vi works with pretty much any team composition that you want to run. Having that guaranteed engage, she's just an all-around really good jungler and does put extra fear into especially mid laners because it's a short lane, and worrying about that ultimate coming at you level 6 from the jungle is definitely a scary thing. Yep. But like you said, no support bans this time around, which we've seen a lot of support bans pretty much in all regions on this patch. So it's going to be the Annie, the Thresh, the Leona that are really kind of the top 3 floating around right now.
Yeah.
And it's really first come, first serve here.
And you know what's interesting to me as well is like Vi and Thresh are both two of those champions where it's like they got nerfed and people didn't play them quite. Well, I guess Thresh stayed in there, but like Vi was one of those that was like big in the beginning of season 3 and people stopped and was like, you know, actually Vi's still really good. Right? Same with Raven, same with a lot of these. And I always like those champions where people realize that they're still good and come back to them a couple like months later. And of course Annie, there you go, the Annie coming through. The Renekton actually the blind pick top lane here. So T4N starting their plan out.
Yeah, that's really when you know it was a good nerf, when the knee-jerk reaction, oh no, don't play anymore, but then I'll go back to her eventually.
They're still good.
Still strong, still strong. That combo right now is a complete kill combo. A Leona plus Jinx. Yes, you know the pain. The level 2 in this duo is ridiculously strong. If you let them get to the lane first and shove the first minions down, then you're going to have to play defensively from the entire early game right there. Because if Leona lands anything on you and keeps you in place for a second, she can follow it up with the chompers from Jinx, and it's going to be ridiculous amounts of damage. You can't move. You're probably going to die.
Probably gonna die. It's unfortunate, and Jinx just loves to make people die, so I gotta say, Tick, Trick, and Duck, pretty happy with that lane. Team4N.
She has the best intentions.
It's true, and then, you know, you're just sad when you're on the receiving end of those intentions. But Team4N, ready to make their own adaptations here, looking for one of those top priority AD carries, Lucian coming through. They were hovering Lee Sin earlier and decided, not going to be Lee Sin. It's going to be Jarvan, actually. They waited the last second. I blinked and it changed
Probably
colors.
watching the last game there. Looked like a pretty good Jarvan game, so they decided to go with it. You know, just on a whim.
Yeah, why not?
But I really do like the combo because we kind of touched on it in the last game where, you know, Jarvan's got the armor penetration. Renekton as well with the slice and dice. So they have some other sources of armor penetration they can use to boost Lucian's damage late game. Meanwhile, the bottom duo lane matchup here. This is pretty much the powerhouse of bottom lanes. Yeah. If these two go up, I'm really excited to see these two lanes go up against each other because those two combos are pretty much the strongest combos that people have been using recently.
That's true, yeah. Only the Draven ban really removing champions from that sort of...
Draven and Thresh would be the other combo that would be able to contend with these. Besides that, you know...
One day we'll see all 3 fighting and they'll all join different teams somehow. And here we go, the last few picks coming through, and right now they're looking at, all right, we got Jungle Vi, we've got some freaking ton of engage. Let's add some frontliners to go follow through. Dr. Mundo there for the top lane. The Kha'Zix mid, blind pick mid laner actually here. That's going to be a fun one here for Snow.
Now, Kha'Zix pretty much has kill potential on almost any mid laner. He does struggle a lot with wave clear early on, and so that's why we've seen a lot of Kha'Zix actually evolving the spike rack instead early, so that they can keep up in CS in the early game and not fall behind so far, even if they don't get a kill. You know, if you don't evolve that rack early, then you're banking on getting a kill to keep you in the game. I really like people that don't evolve the rack early, though, because it's much more exciting. People like Alex Each, who evolve wings first to go for the kill and then hop back out, which he did successfully over in the EU LCS.
I like it, but here we go. The pick is going to be something with good wave clear and some pretty good defensive opportunities as well. Orianna coming through here for Neki, saying, all right, well, I'm going to be able to push you back, and you know, maybe that's going to be what works for him here. As we get the lineups going through, what do you think about these teams, Kobe?
All around, really solid lineup here for the T4N team. You know, they've got Initiate, amazing Initiate. Whenever you have Annie on the team, pick that one second. It was a really good pickup because Flash Tibbers, not a lot of counterplay to that. Pretty much one of the best engages that you can have. And they also have a classic front line with the Jarvan and Renekton, very beefy. And then, you know, decent damage dealers. Orianna's great with control as well. And she's also a great answer to the Kha'Zix lane on the other side. Meanwhile, the TTD here, they're looking for that single target kill to get for Kha'Zix with Vi so that he can get a reset.
Wow, so pretty bursty, a lot of engage there for sure. Guys, it's going to be a fun one. Now as the teams load into the game, let's break down these two squads and how they earn their spot in this match. We're going to start with Tick, Trick, and Duck on the blue side.
So it was Tick, Trick, and Duck that had a great game yesterday. They were taking out the team champions is actually what the team is called in under 31 minutes. And just about everyone on the team put up really strong numbers. Their AD carry, Sunny, he went 7-2-4 on Jinx. And then their mid laner, so he went 8-1-4 with Ziggs.
Yeah, and of course we saw a lot of these guys getting banned, and of course Jinx still returning here in this game. So a lot of these guys still getting comfort picks. Now, of course, on the red side, it's going to be Team 4N, a team that actually pulled off a huge upset in their first Challenger game.
Team 4N is a last place seed, actually, in the Challenger series, but that didn't phase them yesterday. They took out the #1 seed in EUNE, Eternity Gaming, and they did a really good job. Their AD carry went crazy as Draven. We talked about his Draven skills. He put up 12 of his team's 20 kills all by himself right there. Well, not all by himself. He was assisted.
No, if it's Draven, it's all by himself.
But he was able to stack up 21,000 gold due to his passive.
Yeah.
The rest of his team's members, just for consideration, were around the 13 to 15K gold mark. So yeah, the passive kind of did a lot of work for him there.
The crowd was cheering pretty often that game. I was too, actually. It's pretty fun to watch Draven just go crazy.
All by himself.
All by himself. No teammates required. It was the League of Draven. In fact, everyone else on his team became Draven by the end of the game. It was pretty wonderful. And of course, that's why you saw the Draven banned away. So, well, if the only way you're going to upset a team is by doing that, then we'll remove those options. And, you know, to keep this in mind, Tick, Trick, and Duck are the #6 seed, right, coming in on EUS, right? They don't want to be another team to get upset. They don't want to be another team that gets dropped down, but like, oh, crud, we snowballed the AD carry. So, you know, I like the champ select choices there. And so now coming through it, we've started to see these challenger teams. And their individual skill really, really high. You know, in a lot of cases, individual player-wise, they're almost stronger than the LCS teams. The difficulties we've been seeing is their strategic play sometimes.
A little bit, yeah. The trouble closing at the end games, some slow rotations we saw actually already, and also some less than optimal vision control. Yeah, definitely the mid game, I think, is where a lot of the work does have to be put in for these guys. But man, have they made some really, really interesting clips just from the brawls. I really like when I see an AD carry dodge upwards of 5 skill shots in just one engage, because any one of those landing can mean an AD carry's death nowadays. That they're so squishy. There's so many tanks running around.
Yeah.
They literally have to dodge all of these things to stay alive, and these challenger team AD carries are doing it. That's why all of them has such great numbers.
Yeah, they're going up with very few deaths, and it's fun to watch like the top level players kind of adapt to the game as it goes on. So as a guy who reads the forums a lot, I hear a lot of like the AD carry players online say, "Oh my gosh, you know, everyone's playing Shyvana and Mundo, and it's so hard for me as an AD carry player. I feel like I have no impact." And then you're seeing guys like, well, the ones in front of us, or like even Reckless, who's been playing Jinx, who doesn't have escapes, and is like, "I haven't died. I'm in the LCS and I'm not dying, and I'm Jinx. Like, what do you want from me?"
It's not like Reckless and Yellowstar were playing safe either.
No.
They got ganked and took 2 kills without dying in a 3 versus 2 situation.
Yeah.
So that's really well played by those guys.
It's all about the mechanics, man.
Definitely the adaptations have been interesting. Also, I've been seeing, you know, more Trinity Force and Blade of the Ruined King coming out on a lot of the AD carries, just so that when they do get dove, they have more options, more mobility. They can even slow the opponent with the Blade of the Ruined King actives.
Yeah, they're being really self-sufficient, and you kind of look at how these teams are playing the game more and more. You know, I'll admit 2014 is a little bit less AD carry focused, sort of a team sort of thing, but the supports getting picked are like Annie and Leona, these guys who are diving in, saying, "All right, bye, Lucian, enjoy your solo backline wonderfulness," and they just itemize around it. They say, "Okay, well, I'm not going to rush edge. I'll be self-sufficient. I'll kite. I'll be fast. I'll slow you down." And the adaptations are clearly working for these guys.
So it seems like there's a lot more brawling going on.
Yeah, and I like that. I love the brawling. I love where, you know, the team that wins is the one that outpositioned the dragon fight and landed the poke and dived in. And that's actually kind of what we got here in this game, actually, is a lot of engage. Annie on one side, Leona on the other. You've got a Jarvan, a Vi. Like, these champions have one mode, and it's start fights, which means we're going to see people dying.
So I am
dives.
interested to see if we do see more of these face of the mountain options instead of the Talisman of Ascension, because Talisman of Ascension, a lot of people have really loved that one for the engage potential because you can speed up all your bruisers. But then, like we talked about last match, Voidal really loving the extra shield that you can put on your AD carry or even your diving Riven. So
yeah,
it's interesting trade-off there because more mobility, not always the best option. It's definitely great to have, but a giant shield that explodes, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's a fun mix of how that works. And you're right, like both these things are really good things to have in general. And the way that mobility seems to be working is these teams are able to pick fights better, right? It's like, okay, if you got out of position, we can jump you and catch you before you can run. But if the teams have a vision control that they're not getting caught, if they have a vision control that they see them coming anyway, then one item just has combat stats and says you can fight us, but we built items that fight you. So let's just go for that one instead.
And I wonder if that will change when we see more teams switching to sweeping lenses earlier, because it still seems like a lot of these teams holding on to mass trinket wards rather than switching over multiple people to sweeping lenses.
And the one thing I haven't seen either is very rarely do I see teams upgrade to the pink ward droppers. Out of their ward totems. I actually don't see almost any upgraded totems or trinkets in general aside from the red ones late game. So another one I want to kind of watch and see what teams do with this one. But we are into the game here. Team 4-0 on the red side. On the red side, Tick, Trick, and Duck on blue. Again, it's a best of one. The winner moves on to top 8 and is going to fight Storm Games Clan in a best of 3 next week.
And once again, everybody's starting off with a Doran's item except the junglers. So all supports here looking to fight, and I would expect nothing less. Like we talked about in the beginning here, this matchup of duo lanes is going to be very explosive. I would definitely keep the camera down there looking for the level 2 to see who gets it first, because once that happens, there's going to be a lot of fighting.
There's definitely going to be a whole bunch of it, and that's going to be all kinds of fun. So right now, though, no fighting just yet. These teams both having, at least to start, defensive setups here. Jinx and Renekton kind of scoring off in the bottom river. Mundo and Lucian waiting for engages. The one thing I like is that 4-0 has an Orianna ball as well as a Jarvan flag to scout some of the brush. So they actually have some extra vision with no risk.
And if I was 4-0, I would not be worried at all because I've got an Annie on my team. Level 1 Annie is just boss because she can charge up the stun from Fountain walking over, and an AoE stun coming in for the level 1 fight kind of trumps a lot of pretty much anybody else's what they can bring to the table.
Pretty much everybody. So good luck with that one. But here we go. The matchups have begun, and it looks like we're going to have actually a double lane swap here. So a 2v2 top lane, pretty safe jungle starts. Both these junglers grabbing red buffs. Standard 1v1 to the mid lane, and here we go. This is where we're going to see the action lane.
And all of these trinket wards being dropped in the river here. 2 blues for the bottom side and 2 reds for the top side. So it's going to be not a lot of the early game gank. If Jarvan starting on that red side does go down bottom, there's 2 blue wards in the river here. You know, they don't last as long as real wards, but it does mean that his first movement, oh, never mind, they just disappeared. So his double buff gank will be unseen.
All right, that's going to be rough. And yeah, there are no real wards at all in anybody's inventory, so just want to point out like a massive Doran shield start, by the way, for a Tick, Trick, and Duck. They're all like very defensive openings. But here we go. So blue buff picked up by Jarvan. Blue buff started here by the Vi as well. Now slightly faster here for 4-0, but in general, yeah, these junglers in a decent spot on both sides.
Now the level 2 attained first by the Lucian Annie is a little bit of bad news there for the Leona lane because Leona loves to go all in, but being harassed down by the range of that Annie auto attack, not going to tickle too hard. He does have that Doran shield that you talked about for the regen, so they're going to be able to bide their time and just wait for some jungler presence. Because of the lack of wards, the first jungle ganks are going to be very potent.
And here it is, the potent gank. Look there by Vi, but Neki,
so potent right there.
Oh my gosh, forced Neki to run to the right there. Oof, so much opportunity.
He missed a minion right there.
Hey,
so.
Didn't cost Vi much of anything.
Worth.
Walked around on his side in a circle.
Jarvan, however, has spent his time clearing. So, you know, he's already moved up to the top side, and he's working on his next camp.
From the jump in on the Sunny down to 200 health already. No barrier burned, but the health bar is basically gone. Nice engage there before nothing, and yeah, it's going to be a recall.
Yeah, they're making great use of the level advantage right there. They hit level 3 again before the other duo lane here hits level 2. Really nice initiate there from the support. Now she's got to charge up her stun once again, though. And it's going to be interesting to see how they let the Annie charge up her stun.
Let's see if they let her go for it. Jump in there. Neki down a half HP right now. Snow still on the chase. Command Protect helping just a little bit, but now Orianna is out of mana. That could be a rough spot here for Ori.
Rough spot for Ori because Vi's coming around for a second gank, even though Jarvan's right behind her.
Yeah, she's going to run away from that one. iNightmare not liking that one quite so much. But actually, you know, already the sweeping trinket actually was the early pickup there for Jarvan. He's certainly looking to get rid of some wards, but they're only coming back from cooldown just now.
Yeah, so that's why I don't like the start with the sweeping lens, because since nobody starts with real wards, the trinket wards are going to be the only things you're going to be clearing out on your first jungle path anyway. So those things barely last any time at all. It's not really worth it to me, especially since the cooldown before level 9 on your sweeping trinket is too long. I only like to switch it out maybe on my second back or maybe even third so that it's ready by the time I do hit level 9. But I don't really plan on using it much before then.
And Raven actually forced to run away right there. Nice cleaver, the flash ball breaker as well. This is not looking good for Renekton. He does have flash though. Can he get over the wall in time? He doesn't even try to go for it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go down. Cleaver lands. First blood going to Phantom Joe. Take trick and duck. Got some tricks up their sleeves.
So he decided not to use it, but Vi had already used her flash. And Mundo was too far behind to follow him immediately over the Dragon Pit. At worst, he would have traded another flash from Mundo, because Vi had already used her Vault Breaker as well, not able to jump that wall. But he was a little bit hesitant there, wanted to save his flash, and decided to go down for it instead.
All right, we'll see if that ends up paying off for him having flash later on if Vi tries to show up again. But right now, we look back at this duo lane. We've already had some action here. An 8-minion kill lead to Lucian, thanks in part to that early aggression. These guys have both gone back once, picked up some items.
Oh, she's gained the bush.
Yeah, he's a little alone. Ooh, nice shot, though. All right, let's see if they go for anything. Looks like they're just going to zone each other out.
And he got that cork bottle in the eye there. Could not see her target. No stun comes out. And it's actually a good thing here for the Jinx and Leona to be able to start pushing, because they needed to get re-get control of this lane. They're probably going to have to call up some jungle support, though, because anytime you start pushing without wards, especially against a mobile jungler like Jarvan, you're going to have to start worrying about your life.
And Jel'Kozor knows he's not spotted as he's waiting around in the tri-brush, so this could be a gank very, very soon. Flash and stun both up for Annie. His Ignite nearly there as well. And actually, no, Jarvan just backs up. They don't want anything of this, so a completely non-gank despite the push.
Now, it is also worth noting that Jinx has gone for the Vamp Scepter, whereas Lucian is building into the Phage for his Trinity Force. So she has sustain. If they can stay up here and avoid the Jarvan ganks for long enough, damage that they're able to land is going to be sticking, whereas Jinx is going to be able to lifesteal back up.
And look at that, another fight right here. Leona taking a bit of pain right there. Gonna have to sustain off the Doran's shield right now. And of course, Legend has to recharge the stun as well. So we're starting now the second cycle of jungle buffs right now. Red buffs being picked up, level 6 in the junglers. Jel'Kozor looking top lane.
Yeah, second cycle of buffs also means level 6 junglers, which means explosive fights here. As soon as this duo lane up top hits level 6, somebody is probably going to die. Annie's got the amazing initiate, so does Leona. It's really going to be about who makes the first move and who's got the jungler there to help.
And the jump comes in, flash forced out from Leona. Bonaparte 3-1-3, gonna get himself out. But now they know, all right, well, we can jump Leona later on with no flash.
That was actually not so bad for Leona there. Able to get out with her flash. And even if she doesn't have her flash, the level 6 is still going to be extremely effective from her. The long range from Leona ultimate, she doesn't have to flash to use it. And if she can coordinate that well enough, they'll still be able to get off the kill if he can land the full CC combo.
Well, but of course, with the jungler spotted top lane, it was time for iNightmare to run and try to steal away the enemy blue buff. He did so, but Jel'Kozor, realizing that as well, thanks to Orianna's ward, gonna actually trade blues, so both junglers getting the second blue buffs here.
And I also talked about how I pretty much always walk by the bushes on my paths as a jungler. Vi just walks around that little baby bush that Deficio was talking about. I didn't believe it, but I guess like people don't really check that bush as often as you would think, even though she was right there. Doesn't go through, doesn't see that pink ward, so that pink ward definitely really paying off.
Right, maybe Europeans don't run through them. That's how that one works. Deficio knows from his own region. Maybe.
Here we go. Is Leona level 6? There we go.
The jump on in. Legend forced a flashback. There comes the engage, and there is Vi as well. Legend dropped dangerously low, and that's going to be a kill picked up. 2-0 so far. The Ignite last tick is going to pick up a kill. 1 for 1 so far, but the slow lands onto Sola. Will Nightmare chase? Gets the shield from the passive. Damage coming across. Sunny XX. Oh, the barrier might make this one rough. Sunny,
you better get that shot.
But here comes the Jarvan. Does not land much of a slow. Sunny forced to run away. Chasing out of Nightmare, though, does have the red buff here. Is the damage there, level 7.
Has to stay in front of the Jarvan or else he won't be able to get the Q off!
Oh, no, you're kidding me. Only 40 health left, roughly. Health potion ticking, and Vi's gonna survive. 3 for 1 here. Tick, Trick, and Duck with the lead.
Yeah, Tick, Trick, and Duck, like I said, very well played. They didn't need the flash on Leona. Once she hits level 6, you can go for the engage regardless, because if you lock down Annie up there, she's extremely squishy. He landed the CC combo, and they were able to time it with the Vi gank, coming out ahead in the kills, if just barely.
Just barely, but it worked out here. So there we go. Nice pickups. Tick, Trick, and Duck, though. The bottom lane in a fight right here. Phantom Joe popping the Mundo ulti. These guys haven't watched much from them so far, but they're going for pretty standard stuff. A lot of health early on. B taking frontliners. Fairly close minion scores.
Fairly close, but Renekton is definitely a bit more early game oriented than Mundo. So Mundo's pretty happy with the way this one has turned out. He's actually got the lead at this point, and now he's going to get even stronger, going to start outscaling that Renekton.
And that's going to be all kinds of a fun thing then for the blue team here, who've already got the lead in the bottom lane with a 2-kill Jinx BF sword already on her. You know, we talked about really in the early game, T4N, their win came largely from their bottom lane. It came from the hands of Sola on, it was Draven last time, but now he's on Lucian, and it seems like, though he's got the minion kill lead, he's got the mechanics for it, the lane is not going that same way.
Yeah, the CS definitely in Lucian's favor, but 2 kills for Jinx. She's definitely happy with that one. Able to go for the early Bloodthirster as well. Early Bloodthirster, compared to just pieces of Trinity Force, is going to be a lot more effective if they do end up grouping for one of those early dragons.
Ulti coming up from both these top laners, or bottom laners as the case may be right here. These guys trading blows and regenning up as best they can. Looks like Phantom Joe, though, wants to go for this one. Ignite is on, and Raven not in a good spot. Goodbye, Cleaver knocks him out. 2 kills now for Dr. Mundo. That is a 1 lane.
Talked about that point where, you know, Mundo starts to get a hold of this lane, and he has reached it. They go for the kill. Only slow lands from the Leona ultimate. That is going to be any walking away, though, so they don't have to pay for that one with any deaths.
Snow, he finds the ward. Okay, good. He walked through the brush, saw there was a ward there. Now Phantom Joe getting jumped on, though, inside of turret range, and now he pulls aggro Jarvan with the taunt, and that is going to be a kill. Nice job, Chocozor.
Like the taunts in the middle there, too. You like my weapon? Mundo has no option but to just stand in that turret range inside the Cataclysm, goes down. Here's the dive.
And Legend not in a good spot. Drops down Timbers. Good stun, but Bonaparte trying to run away. 1 more turret shot's not going to bring him down. But Necky's here for the counter gank. Is that going to be enough? Sola is around. Can we get the Shockwave? No. Flash by Nightmare. Knows that Shockwave is going to be scary. Necky might just try again, though. This could be a rough spot. Sunny XX going to wait around. Join the team. Bonaparte 313 is there. Necky dropping so low. Goodbye. That's going to be kill picked up by Leona. And now here comes Snow. This is not good for Sola. Jumps back out of Sunny XX, but not going anywhere. Snow picking up that kill now. 7-2. Tick, Trick, and Duck doing a great job.
So well played there. Leona turning around to come back in and going for the kill. After the cooldown for her stun is up again, she goes in for the chain onto Orianna, and they take another life plus the turret after. Really good job not just being satisfied with the kills and taking the objective on the clear map.
Beautiful stuff. And of course, we've seen this lane over and over again. See that we show up once in a while and they're like kind of at full health, and then when they pop ultis, one of them just drops right away. But Tick, Trick, and Duck, definitely the team in control. And we haven't actually seen a lot of, unlike last game, a lot of Dragon emphasis. We've seen the same lanes, not a lot of rotations. And TTD, I guess the winning team is happy to say, let's just keep playing the laning phase. It's working for us.
It's pretty interesting that there's been so much focus on the AD carry support lanes this time around. We kind of expected it because these are kind of superstar combos for both teams right here. But they've really put a lot of their resources into that top lane. And since both of them opted for the switch, they're really far away from Dragon. Can't get the Dragon after you get your kills up there. Usually going for the turret kill instead. Now they're looking to change their options, though, after they took the turret.
Exactly.
Now it's time for Dragon, which is actually, in this patch, an even better idea. Later the game goes, the more Dragon is worth.
Yeah, 166 gold a person right there for Dragon. So definitely more than it would have been at 3 minutes into the game. Now we're at 14, a bit higher here. And yeah, good rotation. You talked about, they take the turret down, then they pull themselves down to the other side of the map. And in fact, looks like TTD going to leave their dual lane down there.
And Mundo's been able to sneak his way into this middle bush. Here we go down bottom, though, action.
Bonaparte forced to flash away, though, taking a whole bunch of pain turrets. Gonna bring that kill down. Goodbye to Leona. And Renekton forcing back Sunny as well. Good kill pick up there for T4N. Solo forced to flash, but Phantom Joe still on the chase. Culling not even stopping Mundo's regen.
He's regenerating faster than the Culling can do damage.
Yeah, Sola dashes away again. Can he land? Nope, that's the death. Nice job there, Phantom Joe. Just keeps walking at him. And down goes Lucian.
His zigzag did not work there. Briefcase does find its mark, and the Mundo in the bush finds another kill, so they're able to answer. 1 kill top for 1 kill bottom, and that was actually without the jungler. Here goes the jungler mid.
And, oh, Neki, you are in a very big world of pain. The attack comes through. Snow picks that one up. Thank you very much. Now that is a 2-0 Kha'Zix. That mid lane starting to look real good.
That Orianna mid going against Kha'Zix is looking like she's going for the Zanyas, but didn't build the arm guard half of it first. Actually going with the needlessly large rod instead. Probably just had that huge chunk of money on one of her backs, but doesn't have that extra armor, and easily bursted down there by the Kha'Zix Vi combo.
And a nice rotation as well by TTD. They take down the mid lane turret for their troubles, bringing them 2-1 on turrets, 1-0 on dragons, and triple their opponent's kills, totaling a 4,000 gold lead. Even the bottom lane now outnumbered. Sunny just belting out damage there with the Bloodthirster. Looks like it's going to be 3 turrets to 1 now. TTD, big lead.
Big lead, and they've already got 2 sweepers. Probably looking for 1 more. I love sweepers on mid lane assassins like Kha'Zix, because he's going to be roaming around and looking to get into positions where he can join the team fight from the side. So if he's got his own sweeper in his own pocket, then he can make sure that he's not in vision before jumping in.
Yeah, good stuff by these guys. And yeah, getting rid of the vision, making sure they can jump in properly. Making the adaptations early on. 16 minutes for 2 sweepers. I'm going to keep that one in mind. Of course, still only 1 for T4N. Of course, Jokazor started the game with 1. So not surprised to see him have 1 still. When we look at the gold right here, we can see the biggest gold lead is going to be the AD carry, 6,000 on Jinx compared to only like 4,700 for Lucian. That's pretty decent.
I like how we've had pink wards in both of the small river bushes most of this game too. There's at least 1 team got a pink ward in each of the bushes here. They're keeping up the vision there, trying to get the amount of vision for the gold that you have to spend on that pink ward. Hope it lasts long enough, but it doesn't see the yellow ward by the dragon. So when that does spawn back up, they're going to have to clear it out with a sweeper.
Mm-hmm. And we're actually seeing Ravenous Hydra also by the mid lane. I know you talked about the W evolve, but Snow using itemization instead to sweep out the lane.
I'm a real big fan of this Hydra. I'm a big fan of Hydra on any champion, but on Kha'Zix especially, it enables you to clear out minions so that you can get your isolation damage for your Q, which is a huge boost in damage for him. Plus, you can still cast your Hydra activation while you're jumping. The only change was made so that you can't cast the spikes while you're jumping. Woo.
Yeah, that was a close one. Snow barely leaping away from the flag just in time. He's going to be all right there. That could have been scary. He did have flash at least, but still, he didn't really want to Jarvan jumping on you. So, regroup here. It's going to be TT&D sitting there with Dr. Muna, going for the split push. It's going to be Raven sitting there trying to survive against him, but it wasn't working the first times. I don't think it's going to get any better for him.
Oh, here we go. The initiate from Vi.
Jokers are going to get locked up. Beautiful ulti right there by Leona, and the engage is there. Look at all the damage coming across. Shockwave not going to be enough, but Leona now with 2 kills. Bloodthirsty there. Neki forced to run. Nice tank right there, but, ooh, the shield. 1 more tick left. Picks up the kill. Phantom Joe taking it with Ignite and just walks away because cool guys don't look at explosions.
They're not going to stop with 1 turret here either, though. They're going to be looking for another objective. Wow. Eyes are big for Baron. That would be a very interesting rush. They were able to take down the jungler, but he's only got 5 seconds left. If he has enough gold to buy home guards, he could make it in time for a steal.
Yeah, and remember that pink ward didn't get swept, so T4N knows about this Baron attempt, and they're running across, but they're running through some wards. Phantom Joe also fairly low, no ulti as well. Legend is here with
he wants
Flash
to
and
go
Night
for
Timbers.
it.
There comes the Renekton in as well. Phantom Joe dropped dangerously low, but they just can't put enough damage down. Ignite might be enough with the re-engages here on the bottom side. 1 kill so far. And it looks like T4N forced to scatter right now. Sola likely going to drop down. Double kill so far for Kha'Zix. 2-0 Mundo did live. And look at this. TTD looking good. No other kill picked up by Sunny. Just missed that one. Plus the shield anyway.
Ooh, 2 kills only. Not able to pick up the third, but Baron was stopped. So that's a small win there. Jarvan actually didn't get there in time for the steal, so it was a really good move by Renekton going in. But still, 3 more kills just added onto the pile there. There's a huge, ginormous lead here for blue side, and they don't really have to rush back to Baron. You know, they can actually just split again.
Wow, so wonderful things right here, these guys. We can go through the fight again. We can watch that engage.
All right, so Annie, they dropped a bunch of wards over the bottom, or the side of Baron right there, so she could have flashed in to go for the start, but Renekton charges around the open mouth, and he was 1 versus 5 there. So he gets bursted down really quickly, and then since Lucian and Annie were trying to follow up there, but they were so far behind, they kind of get caught out as well in no man's land, and it's only by a very, very small margin that they both don't lose their lives.
Very close one right there, but it's not going to be, I guess, as bad as it could have been. TikTok Conduct picking that one up. They actually left, that was cute, they left the dragon kill for Vi so you could use Golem Gold.
No, yeah, exactly. You want to get those conservation stacks because if you have those sitting at 80, you just feel like you're wasting money.
Yeah. It's like buying things on sale. You're wasting money by not buying this right now. Of course you have to. But yeah, in this case, it is free money. You might as well give it away to the jungler right there. Chokazor, 30 gold. It's nice getting some money back for sweeping wards with his nice trinket right there. But you're just seeing, and it's just Phantom Joe. Like, he's not really flashy, but he's always in the right spot. He's 4-1-1 now. He's just, this is pushing, and I'm going to win all my duels.
Yeah, he's so beefy. That's why I was saying they can just go back to the split because nobody can solo him right now. They have to send multiple people if they want to stop his split. And even if they do send multiple people, he might be able to 2 versus 1 you. So depending on who you're sending up there, you have to still be really careful.
I feel like he could 2v1 the duo lane. Jarvan Annie definitely think he would beat. So, yeah, he's actually going to have the rest of his team join up. Well, most of them, I should say, because Snow, the Kha'Zix, still staying in this mid lane, but TTD looking to keep the pressure on right now. After mid was shoved, going to group up a little bit. They're certainly controlling this jungle right now. That's at least one of these steps here.
Yeah, getting full vision over the jungle means that they will not get flanked. That's really the hope here for T4N. They want to get a really good engage while TTD are on the turrets. That's only really going to happen if they could flank, but since there's no vision control, too dangerous for them to go into the jungle, and they just kind of have to cower behind this turret as small chips are taken off of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Tier 2 turrets do not regen, unlike inhibitor turrets now in the 2014 year. So this damage does stay every time they do take those chips off of it. Nice trinket ward does spot the Mundo waiting around on the side, but still, you're seeing the Snow split push make things very difficult for T4N.
Yeah, it's very hard for them to initiate, like we said before, because they can't get around the side. But also, Mundo is amazing. He can tank a couple turret shots every wave and allow Jinx to get those auto attacks off onto the turret without having to worry about you know, the flash initiate even from Annie. There is no flash up. Even though their opponents are not aware of that, they don't have to worry about it.
And they don't really seem to have to whatsoever. The fight's still coming across. I never wants to make the dive happen. They go in onto Legend. Will they get the shockwave to do anything? Not a goodbye to Annie. Now Raven a bit alone. Can he dash away? Looks like he's going to stick around though with Dominus on. But TTD are basically here as 5 versus 4. That turret will go down. That's another one picked up. TTD still looking great.
Yeah, they've got a huge lead here. It's going to be really miraculous if we see a comeback. Kha'Zix, though, yeah, he's fine. He can just fly away. Yep. Fly away, little birdie.
Little birdie?
Buggy.
Buggy?
Buggy, yeah.
I like Buggy, actually. I'm a fan of that one. Well, take Turk and Duck. They do have ward coverage. You're seeing pink wards and trinket wards and just regular old sight wards. Sight stone wards, that's the one. You know, getting control over this jungle, really. They can run through this area of the map really safely. They know they're not going to get ganked right here. They've owned that side of the map very successfully. It's a jungle we tend to see teams try to control.
Yeah, I'm glad, you know, they did get those 2 real early sweepers, but I'd like to see at least 1 more of them picked up for the Kha'Zix. They are doing a great job of buying multiple pink wards, though, so they are doing a good job communicating between members to establish where they want to have their extra vision, and then using the sweepers to get the blind spots there. Now, though, they have the hardest job, is cracking that final egg, getting into the inhibitors, getting one of those inhibitor turrets down. Once they get that one down, then it's kind of a domino effect. So we'll have to see if they go with the same strategy here, having Mundo take a couple tower hits while they get auto attacks on the turret, or if they try and retreat and bait back to Baron, which has not been successful.
Yeah, you're right. We've not seen any of the teams really do a good job of taking the Baron itself. We did at least see in this game TTD pull at least a kill or 2 from baiting the Baron and forcing T4N into the fight. But realistically, you're right. These guys haven't done huge game-sweeping moves, just kind of pushing the leads forward slowly but surely. And here they are, pushing another turret down. That's going to be 6. All 6 outer turrets are gone. TTD, sorry, I should say, definitely in a good spot.
All right, so now what we're looking for is the flash tibbers from Annie with stun charged onto a high priority target. If they can get Annie flash tibbering at least either Kha'Zix or Jinx, it'd be great if they could get both, but just take one if you can get one, then they can actually turn this around because both of them can be blown up fairly easily here. Only one semi-defensive item here with the Giant's Belt for Kha'Zix. They can rip right through that as long as they're able to land that stun. Because if Annie can set it up, Jarvan can jump on that perfectly, and then they can combo it with a Shockwave. So they still do have a chance, even though they're so far behind in gold. If they can get the perfect initiation, there's a possibility that they could win a team fight.
All right, guys, so keep your eyes peeled onto Annie. Can they get the engage that T4N needs? Red buff successfully given over to the AD carry. It's a good start. Something that didn't happen in last game, but it's happened here. Both AD carries now wearing the red buff. Trinkets going down, spotting out the Baron area. This does seem to be the area with all the tension on it. Wave clear by Snow. He's going to go right back over and say, yeah, I'm going to sit topside.
Yeah, they've still snuck some more vision inside the Baron, so taking another dragon means they'll extend the lead a little bit, but that's not going to get them much closer to taking down one of these inhibitor turrets, which is the real goal here. So unless they go back to buy after this, then it's not that big of a deal. It just sort of denies the comeback mechanic for T4N if they happen to get that really good Annie initiate.
Yeah, so a little bit more gold coming through into the pockets. TTD, how patient do they want to be in this game? Mind you, we're only 26, 45 into the game. This is not a long game by any means. They've been, taking incremental advantages. But I want to see what these guys do to take this one. Ooh, that's going to be actually the steal. Yeah, I steal, I guess, on the Big Wraith. Why not? But it does mean that Smite is down right now for iNightmare. I feel like I wouldn't say go kill Baron when both teams know the jungler has no Smite. But you never know, they could go crazy.
Yeah, and Baron is actually the perfect place for that Annie play that we're looking for. If you all are grouped up inside the pit, then Annie would love to just flash over there and grab multiple people. But that being said, Kha'Zix is amazing at bursting down Baron. So if they're able to hold off the rest of the team, then Kha'Zix can take that Baron down very, very quickly.
You're seeing them try this right here. The Smite is almost back from cooldown.
Vi's not even in there, though. This is smiteless people in Baron. Vi's getting
crazy.
Bursted.
iNightmare getting jumped on right there. Does try to jump away from this one. This is going to be a pretty interesting fight right there. It's going to be all kinds of fun. Here we go, guys. Running through the river, and we do have a pause real quick. So getting ourselves into the game shortly. Sad face in the middle of the fight, too.
Now, they got the Baron, but wow, that was kind of scary because their plan for distracting was, oh, look, our jungler's in the mid lane. We don't have Smite over by Baron. That's a good plan because you'll never suspect you're doing Baron. But you don't have Smite by your Baron. It could easily be stolen away. Yeah,
and these guys have known the whole time. It's like they're going to try this play. Like, if you're not pushing our turrets down, you're probably trying one of the objectives, and Dragon's gone. And so they just walk in and they're like, well, I guess we'll just start killing you guys. And, of course, they're like, in the middle of that fight, the rest of these guys had to come back around and, like,
We've got a cliffhanger now.
Yeah, it's like, in the middle of a battle, right, they know Vi's under fire. They got to make sure they do a good job.
I think Vi might have gone down there. I think it's 4 versus 5 right now, but they've got Baron.
Yeah.
Anyways, The exciting conclusion will return just after these moments. No, but yeah, it was a pretty interesting move because, like we said, they're so far ahead of this point. They've got a Mundo with ridiculous amounts of armor and regen. He can actually tank tower shots while Jinx switches to the rocket cannon for the extra range and gets a couple of shots off onto the turret. Yes, the inhibitor turrets regen, but it's a very small amount. So as long as she gets off at least 2 auto attacks, then that's fine.
It
2 auto attacks per wave.
Yeah. Yeah, so looking at this one, of course, it's interesting because the blue team here actually, just like the Cloud9 EU, actually a very physical-heavy team, interestingly enough. You've got like Mundo with Sunfire and Burning Agony and all that.
Slow burn magic damage is all you need.
It's good enough. You're just like, screw it, we're going to kill you. Yeah. And just Kha'Zix just melting people up the rest of the time.
Because, you know, a lot of people using the Vi, her denting blows, good armor penetration too. It's only on one person, though. So that's why the Jarvan, I think, has come back a little bit. And Renekton Slice and Dice also AoE. So a couple unseen sources of it.
Yeah. And so, you know, coming through here, we also have the incredibly fed Jinx. I know you talked about her poking turrets down with the rockets. But in general, I think he's still got like 0 deaths on his scoreboard. This Jinx, you know, holding the back line really successfully. And I mean, when you've got 2 really huge threats. So first of all, you've got Mundo and Vi running in there being just hardcore engaged, idea to deal with us for tanky. But at the same time, you've got Kha'Zix leaping around being crazy, but Jinx running around being crazy as well. And it's like, how do you deal with that much threat?
It's very difficult especially when the kill discrepancy is this high in the game, because when they do siege up around that turret, Jinx also has the Flame Chompers, which can completely cut off one side of the lane. If you line them up from the turret down to the wall, then you can force your enemies to funnel through one side, and you put your Mundo there. That's basically your wall, and you're playing for the team fight. So to get around that, I'm still banking all my money on that Flash Annie Tibbers. I have to say, at this point, you're now going to have to get the Kha'Zix and the Jinx in your Flash Tibbers to come out ahead, because you want to get them low enough, at least, if not kill them, so that they don't want to stay in the fight.
Yeah.
But right now, you know, they're down the Vi. So this is a good chance. You want to capitalize on your 4 versus 5 man advantage, even though the other team has Baron buff. This is really the move that they have to make. They got to pick up a couple more kills, get those Baron buffs off, and get that money back.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess until Kha'Zix gets a reset, they've got a little bit better time with this one, where he's just simply not going to be as powerful, because I mean, he's not going to leap in if he can't leap out, because you talked about it before. He's got like a giant belt for tankiness.
You said everybody's crazy on that team. He might.
Yeah, they might freaking whatever, man. Don't even care. No smite, nothing. Just dive in. I mean, you're right. There's. You talked about how it's hard to get back against, you know, 2 big threats when you're behind a kill score. But again, it's a 5v4 in the team fight. You've got to, I guess, just take as many advantages as possible. At the very least, I imagine that if For Nothing wins the fight, they can at least move forward and get some turrets as well. That I feel like this game moves forward with the lead shrinking at least somewhat.
Because they have to get the gold so that they can have the items to burst down the target that they catch. Even if they catch the Kha'Zix and the Jinx now, it's going to be rough for them to burst them all the way down, because they are not packing a lot of punch. Orianna barely has 1 item here. So the Shockwave, it'll be a good displacement, and that's good CC, but it's not that extreme amount of damage that you're used to seeing from a Shockwave at this point. And so they really will have to focus everything to burn the target down that they actually do catch. So that's why they really do have to get those turrets after this, so they can purchase another item or 2.
Yeah, last I saw, actually, the Lucian was sitting there at only, like, Trinity Force Last Whisper, when, like, Jinx was already at 2 full items and then starting the Last Whisper as well. So there's definitely, like, kind of, like, half to, like, a full item tier up for each of these players down the line. Not to mention, like, how bad that Mundo Renekton matchup looked earlier. Like, yeah, so Global Gold, hopefully, I guess, for the For Nothing fans out there, Global Gold hopefully coming back in their favor. Couple of levels coming in from a 1-team fight. Hopefully they can, if they can remove some of those champions, less Baron buffs on the enemy team. I know we saw from the last game, like, there was the comeback Baron, but Cloud9 EU still held and came back up. Like, how much more do these guys need to get before it's like, yeah, they've got serious contention now?
They've got a few more, maybe 2 more Barons. I think they're gonna have to take away to be able to get back in this one, because it's a pretty big discrepancy right now. We've already seen the culling, a full culling right to Mundo's face, and he's literally regenning more damage than the culling is doing and laughing while he's running at him and then finishing off the kill on Delusion by himself. Yeah. So that's not a good sign when you do less damage than the enemy can regen. So
yeah, that's a rough one. So, thinking about this one, right, we know the team's coming into it. It's interesting because they came in from ranked 5s, which in the first place is like online and best of 1, and so it's kind of the same format here. But I feel like the pressure on each individual game is like significantly higher now because you lose one game, you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got to try again next split.
Single match here, do or die. So everybody, the nerves have got to be a problem right now. And any people that are like, oh yeah, what are you guys talking about? Even though they're online, they can be, wherever they want. They should be more comfortable than being like in a studio or something. The nerves just of that much pressure just on your one game of getting in or not does have actually a big effect on your play.
Yeah, any team that loses here, right, again, you talk about the pressure. Any team that loses here has to try again in about 5-6 weeks' time. There's 2 of these sort of tournaments per split. So we'll have again about 5-6 weeks later another play down to 8 and another sort of tournament bracket going forth. So these guys can try again in about 5-6 weeks. For what it's worth, guys, one of the players had a computer crash. Getting his computer restarted, the game was paused. Of course, we pause here waiting for him. Gonna let him play the game out, of course. So once he's back into the game, we'll be going again pretty soon. So yeah, these guys playing the best of 1, right? A deficit. We've seen people come back from this kind of deficit before. But then after this game, these guys next week move into best of 3s. Single elim best of 3, 8-team bracket. They join MYM and NIP as part of that bracket, and they go for basically points now. They go for points to get into the promo relegation tournament.
And then they get to play for the LCS spot.
Yeah. And that's going to be all kinds of crazy because, I mean, you just kind of look at all the upsets that have been happening so far. So just even talking about these teams to start off, right? #1 team from EUNE and 4-0 squeaks by with like a hardcore Draven carry that barely comes through. You even talk about the EU LCS though, and you've got, I don't think anyone, like literally anyone in like all of LoL would have been like, yeah, Alliance putting that super team together, 0-3 start.
The super team at the bottom is a really interesting story. I mean, this Challenger Coke League, this is the EU Challenger. It's feeding into the EU LCS, and the EU LCS is looking nuts right now.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the Copenhagen Wolves team has really impressed me. They lost 2 really high star power members and replaced them with people that have been pretty much just as good, if not even better.
Yeah.
Forgiven has been ridiculous. I've seen him, like I was talking about AD carries dodging a lot of skill shots. I have seen him get out of a lot of very near-death situations that really have impressed me. I think it was a great replacement for Reckless.
Yeah, and of course, Amazing as well has done a really good job. And it's fun to watch like those 2 players because they basically like. That's one of the cool things I actually like about the Challenger Series, actually. Okay, let's go back. Okay, the fight has begun again. Here we go. Nightmare. Yeah, getting caught in. There's the engage. Actually flashes downwards, and Baron does go down. Nightmare is gone, though. So 1-0 in the fight. Bonaparte forced to run away. There's the Ascension popped as well, and the culling does not quite land, but Ignite finds a second one. So here we go now. 5-3 in this fight, and it continues on. Actually, wow.
They're chasing.
Re-engaging, but there comes Jarvan. He's going to flash away as well. 5 versus 3, and still, look at the chase. Oh my god, goodbye. Snow finds one. Jinx fires back and kills Annie as well. Now 2 for 2 in this fight. That's a slow. Neki goes down. Would you look at that? TTD 3 versus 5 picks up 3 kills.
Talked about this team being nuts. They are crazy. Turnaround 3 versus 5. They knew they had the cooldowns, and all the ultimates had been popped here for T4N. Kha'Zix flashes right back in, just a hair's breadth away from Lucian, and it kills him with the Style Ignite for the 1-tick kill.
1-tick kill, I think it's the reset, and continues on. So Inhib goes down, Baron buff on 3 members, and it's 28 minutes in, everyone's respawned already.
All right, so they got 2 of the Baron buffs off, but 1 inhibitor down. We talked about that being the hardest thing to crack here. The door is now open, and TTD have an objective to return to here, so all they have to do is purchase with the money that they just secured after that fight with their 3 main people, the Mundo, Kha'Zix, and Jinx, who were the ones who stayed alive there. And once they can return, you can shove either side lane right now. It doesn't even matter which one because Baron is going to be down for a long time. It's not even going to be an objective on the map here, so they can pick and choose. It's pretty much just wherever they already have people.
So right now, iNightmare, he's already got people down in the bottom lane. They're shoving this one out at least a little bit. But it looks like these guys are going to wait until they all recall, they all capitalize and buy new items. And look at the pickup now for Snow. So Hydra already done, but it's going to be Last Whisper and Black Cleaver. So Armor Pen, he's got that.
Like as we saw in the last game where we had a Kha'Zix, I really like this combo because it's a sort of an AD heavy team, and the area of effect physical damage that he's dealing is going to apply that shred for the rest of his teammates. So really like the sort of team-based play here, even though he is an assassin. It looks like the team, though, they're going to shove all of the lanes in right now. So this is a little bit of a tricky situation because if there was a very bold T4N call right now, they could try and pick off one of these side lanes, but that window is just so small, and it's such a dangerous move to go for.
Yeah.
Very, very few teams would make that call, and it looks like they're making the safe play here, going to stay inside the base, try and fight with a turret. They're hoping that with the turret, they can stop the dive of TTD and turn it around.
Yeah, I think that was the pause that we had. This was actually the computer crash from before. We
actually
we do our pauses kind of in the past because we're streaming them, and so he's actually already back in this one. There's no problems to worry about here. The game continuing on forward. You can see the wave clear. And you talked before about Mundo face-taking a couple of turret shots and about him just regenning in the face of culling. Well, now it's Mundo with Baron buff. Both those things are much easier now. The Trinket Ward up in the front, TTD waiting for the minion wave, and they're going to siege again.
All right, so the first culling is going to be used on the first wave here, and he does clear out the whole one. It'll buy them another 30 seconds, but the same problem is still going to face them here. How can they deal with this ridiculous Mundo? It's going to be so hard for them to get around him. Well, they actually forced the ultimate down from him. Oh, no, they don't. That was just a half-life. He doesn't even have to pop his ultimate. He's regenning so fast without it.
And the bottom lane as well had a giant wave crash into the turret right now. Some damage dealt, not necessarily a ton. The mid lane also forced to be swept out, but look at this. The rotation is enough. TTD jumping in.
They have to go if they're going to go.
And they're going to see if they go for it. It's going to be the jump in onto Snow. Is Snow going to be okay with this one? Putting damage back on Geokazor. That's going to work all right for him. Snow still in this battle, actually. And everyone else kind of ignoring that duel. They're just waiting for the siege to keep going.
They have to go with this turret. If you're going to give up 2 inhibitors to this team that's already 17 kills to your 5 this far ahead, then you're pretty much just waiting to lose now. All right, so this is just going to be a rotation down. Probably going to just go for the Nexus turrets. They don't even have to pick up the last inhibitor. They could play very safe here, though, and get all 3 inhibitors, in which case the counterplay for T4N would be almost non-existent.
Yeah, and one thing I like about TTD is they've got 2 adjacent inhibitors dead. Super minions, they've got a 70 armor MR and 70% damage buff aura. Those stack on fellow super minions. Those things get freaking crazy when there's 2 together. So for what it's worth, that's a very hard to defend next. But mid inhibitor has respawned. There's the bottom lane siege you talked about. It looks like TTD will play safely.
Timely inhibitor respawn here means that they can just rotate over and grab the second inhibitor, and they can get those stacking super minions that you talked about. That's really why I thought that they were going to make their move on that last turret, because 2 inhibitors down is so much more difficult to come back from than 1, and their gold deficit is not going to close here. It's only going to get wider.
I feel like, I agree with you, and I feel like 2 inhibs dead is actually harder in 3.14, 3.15 than it was back in Season 3. I think 1 inhibitor is easier to get back from, but I think 2 is actually harder. In my
yeah, 2 is. I mean, with the changes, you're right. Since the Supermans only come down 1 lane, having 1 inhibitor down, you can deal with if you just turtle there. But here we go. Mundo actually taking the turret as expected,
and he's gonna just take all the damage, maybe not even care. Explosion goes down on 1. That is goodbye to Annie. Snow forced back, but will just barely get dropped down by Raven, but the fight is still going on. 4 versus 4 in the back lines. TTD happy to keep fighting, but Redacted actually doing some work right here, taken up, and Sola still putting in damage. The re-engage from Jarvan as well. Kill picked up on Leona. Phantom Joe knocked up as well, and that's going to be another kill picked up. A little bit late, but T4N picks up some kills. iNightmare, 1 hit from Dead and will not go down. Sola, though, forcing the team away.
Mundo kind of looked a little confused there that he was cataclysmed inside the turret, tanking it. And you know, it caused sort of the whole team to go a little bit deeper than they needed to. Jinx got halfway through the enemy base there and then had to work her way out, so there wasn't a lot of damage coming while her front line was tanking. And she had to blow her flash to escape with her life there. So a little bit too deep of the dive there, but we've already been over it. They've got the 2 inhibitors down. Even without that Baron buff, it'll be pretty easy for them to return. Annie just gets blown up before she gets to get anything off. But it was an amazing shockwave that causes Kha'Zix to lose his life for the Annie. So it's a really good trade. And that's a Jinx I talked about, got so deep, she was taking a shot from the Nexus turret and had to work her way all the way back out of this fight from the beginning, which meant that her tank line had to soak up all that damage to buy her the time for that escape. And the culling, so close there, not able to land one more shot because it was a very good quick pull by that Vi for the Vault Breaker. Not wasting any time charging it up, just getting the small amount of distance that she needed to get out of range of the culling.
Just a little reflex dodge there, and looks like, once again, it's the same strat. Okay, there we go. Vi actually joins the team to kill Baron now. Last time, maybe a little bit risky to sit outside the pit, but this time, with the 2 inhibs dead, looks like full control here for TTD. This will be a Baron buff going to the blue team. The Vi picking up the smite, and now will they go for the game-winning push?
Right, so now this is the same story as the last push up top, except that there's 2 inhibitors down instead of 1. So it's going to be really, really difficult. The tower's already at half, and this time around, probably we'll be seeing Mundo again tanking the turret, but expecting it this time. And I don't think they'll make the same mistake and dive all the way up to Nexus turret length this time. And they'll probably just be shoving this one in, taking the 3rd inhibitor and rolling that one through to the Nexus.
And here these guys go, grouping up, down for this turret. Sunny gonna put some attacks in there. He's gonna wait for the Baron regen. Yeah, Leona can actually tank the turret shots here, but that's not gonna die all that fast with the backdoor bonus available.
You know what's funny is it's actually kind of good that Annie didn't have to use anything in that last fight, because Annie still has her flash, so they've got the flash tippers ready this time around. If Kha'Zix decides to jump in again and they're able to take him out, then, you know, they can have the Annie with the flash there. Locking the stun down onto Jinx would be the 2 main targets.
Well, they could try for the 4v5. Snow is sitting in the top lane right here, but that's not going to be the case here. T4N going to take their time on this one, let the top inhib go back down. No one even tries to stop Snow. Mid inhib, of course, we're back up fairly soon again as well. And we've got a little bit of time here with 2 inhibs.
Couple more shots on the turret, whittling it down.
And this is not going to be an engage by T4N. They're going to give away this turret against the Baron buff here. There's the mid inhib back as well. TTD going to take these down. This might be 3 inhibs.
This is definitely going to be 3 inhibs. I'm going to go step out on a limb there and call that one. I think it's also going to be 2 Nexus turrets as well.
What about the Nexus itself? Ooh. Tough call? All right, Kobe's not going to try for this one. We might see what happens in the next. There comes the engage. Raven dropped a bit low. There's the engage on, and oh, this could be the game right here. Nightmare dropped dangerously low. He's got to go down. Jinx answers back on Annie, though. The fight is continuing. Renekton's going to drop in one more attack. Yes, that is. Sunny just chasing everybody down. Rocket double kill. Triple kill overall, and now only Jokos are left. He's going to survive for now, but you talk about 2 Nexus turrets going down. That might indeed be the case. This could very well, it pretty much definitely is the game for Tick, Trick, and Duck. Dropping down everything they can. That's going to be the Nexus laid bare. The kill coming by as well. Is it going to be 4? Okay, really? Wow, okay, that's another kill given away. Jarvan getting kill credit for that one.
Good luck, Jarvan.
But it's a Nexus that really matters. Down to half HP. Team's still not reviving. And these guys are just too tanky. That's going to be the game. Tick, Trick, and Duck, they're going to be playing next week against Storm Games Clan. Into the top 8 and their chance at the LCS.
Congratulations. Really well played. I mean, they built up such a huge lead from that massive kill discrepancy there, and they were able to finish it out methodically, taking down all the inhibitors for the second push, their second Baron buff, able to work it out.
And I think as long as they're not going too crazy, which outside of that Vi being a little bit reckless, like, I think it's a confident way to win the game, and one that I kind of enjoy. It's like, okay, they're going to take all the advantages, but they are going to go push. They're going to take like the small risk that they might engage us, but they're definitely not taking their time with this one.
Yeah, I think the Mundo was definitely a giant problem for them that game too, because he not only won his lane versus the Renekton, but he got tanky very quickly, able to even pick up a solo kill on Renekton early mid game, which meant that he just kind of shot off from there. And from that point, he was able to solo AD carry. He was able to split push. He was able to draw so much resources from the opposing team that there was not a lot that they could do to get back control of the map, even on their side of the jungle.
Yeah, got to give a lot of props to the top laner there. So well played on that one. So guys, it's looking good so far, but after day 1 of our broadcast, let's check out the updated challenger bracket for the round of 8. Thanks to their victory over Team 4N, Tick, Trick, and Duck moves on to the next round of the Challenger Series. They will face the Season 3 Summer Split participants Meet Your Makers on January 30th. And
with their win earlier today, Cloud9 EU advances out of Group A and awaits the winner of tomorrow's Pulse Esports versus STO game.
And with that, we've played our last